Hi, welcome back to another movie explanation. Today, I'm going to explain a romantic drama film called A Walk in the Clouds. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film opens with a man returning back from home from a warship. The name of this man is Paul. He gets off the ship and waits for his wife. It's already been 4 years since he's got married. The name of his wife is Betty. Even after waiting for an hour, Betty doesn't come to receive Paul. He goes home by himself after this. When he reaches home, he sees Betty, and Betty sees him. She's surprised to see Paul back home, because she doesn't know he was going to come back someday. Paul says, "I wrote a letter with the message that I'll be coming home today." To this, Betty says, "I stopped reading your letters a long time ago, because you write a lot about war, and that kind of stuff scares me," and shows Paul a bunch of letters he wrote packed in a box. Seeing this, Paul is disappointed. Betty starts kissing him, and asks him to come to bed to cheer him up, and they have sex. The next morning, Paul leaves saying bye to Betty. He gets on a train. In the train, he meets a very beautiful woman. Her name is Victoria. He helps her put her luggage up on the stand of the train, because when she tried to put up her luggage, it fell. When Paul puts it up, a photo of her and her father falls out of it. Victoria looks at her father's photo and tells Paul that he is going to kill him. Paul says, "Don't worry about it, everything will be alright." After this, the train hits brakes and Paul falls upon Victoria. They get up and adjust their clothes and take their seats in the train. Paul tries to take a nap, but he couldn't because of the nightmares he sees about the war. This shows that Paul is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. When he opens his eyes, he has reached a station where he's supposed to get down at. He notices that Victoria has already left. When Paul comes out of the station, he is supposed to get into a bus. Seeing the bus move, Paul runs into the bus and coincidentally meets Victoria in the bus. She apologizes to Paul, and Paul says it's not a problem. After a while, some goons in the bus start to harass Victoria. Paul tells her to leave her alone, but they don't. They fight with Paul, and Paul beats them up nice. The bus driver doesn't like this and makes all of them get down. After this, Paul starts walking towards his destination. While walking, he meets Victoria again. He asks her what she is doing there. She replies, "My town is nearby." Paul asks her what happened and why she is sad. She tells her story to Paul. She says when she was in college, she loved her professor and she got married to him. When she got pregnant, he got scared and left her. Paul tells Victoria that she is bringing a new life into the world and she must not regret it. She should always be happy. Paul suggests Victoria that he will go to her house as her husband and leave when they were in the house. By doing this, she will not be blamed, and the only person who will be blamed is her husband. Paul was willing to act as Victoria's husband for one day. Victoria says yes for this. When Paul and Victoria enters into a man's estate, they hear gunshots. The man was trying to shoot Paul. Then Victoria comes and introduces him as her husband. The man's name is Alberto, and he is Victoria's father. He takes Victoria and Paul into the house. Victoria's mom was happy to see her and hugs her. Victoria meets everyone in the house and hugs them. Meanwhile, Alberto was angry to see a Caucasian as his son-in-law, but he wanted a Mexican as his son-in-law because Victoria and the family were Mexicans. Alberto asks Paul what he does. He says, "I sell chocolates for a living." But Alberto's father, Don Pedro, accepts Paul instantly. They like him because Victoria likes him. Now Victoria is seen cooking with her mother and grandmother in the kitchen, and asks her, "Am I not allowed to take my own decisions and marry the man I love?" Then her mother asks her, "Do you really love him?" And she says yes. Then her mother says, "Don't worry, everything will be alright." While having dinner, Victoria's mother asks Paul and Victoria how they met. Paul and Victoria's stories were inconsistent, but they somehow managed to tell Victoria's parents of the story of how they met. After this, Alberto asks Paul about his parents. He says, "I'm an orphan." After listening to this, Alberto insults Paul, saying a man must know about his ancestry. Paul goes out of the house because of the insulting comments of Alberto. Victoria comes out to Paul and apologizes for her father's behavior. Victoria's mother gives them the bed they used to sleep in, and says this bed passed down to the couples in this house, and now this is yours. Everything will be alright, and Alberto will accept you sooner or later. In the next scene, the grapes in their estate were being frozen by the cold weather, so they were heating them with a trick that only the family knows. Paul says to Alberto that he wants to help, but Alberto says, "I don't have the time to teach you all this." Then Victoria teaches him that, and he learns it on the spot and helps Victoria's family. Don Pedro finds out that Paul was going to leave Victoria anyway, So he comes to him and tells him to stay for a little bit longer, so that Alberto doesn't blame Victoria. Victoria felt good looking at Paul staying a few more days for her sake. In the next scene, there is a grape crushing ritual in their town. Victoria takes Paul to that because only married couples are allowed to do it. Paul understands that Victoria might be in love with him and tells her that he was a married man and can't stay with her. Victoria feels sad. After this, Paul thinks of leaving, but the grandmother has soaked his clothes and he can't leave. Victoria tells him to leave and lead a happy life. After a while, Paul goes to the bar. Don Pedro is there in the bar and tells him that only women understand the language of heart. After this, Paul tries to impress Victoria because he understands that he loves Victoria too. The next day, there's a party. Paul tries to leave and gives Victoria and the baby. She expects a gold star medal. Then she tells him that she has to tell everything to her father. In this party, Alberto finds out everything and leaves the party in anger. When Paul leaves and reaches home, Betty was cheating on him with another man. Seeing this, Paul is heartbroken. In the next scene, a huge fire breaks in the house because of the grape heating method they use to make the grapes hot and not let them freeze in the winter season. All the grapevines were on fire, and so were Victoria's family and Paul. All of them try to put this fire off, but they can't. It's dark, so it's getting much harder to put the fire off, but somehow, with the help of Paul and a lot of people from the town, they put the fire off. Paul leaves his old life behind. Even Betty, he understands that Betty doesn't love him as much as Victoria does because she was cheating on him. In the end, when they put the fire off, it's morning. Paul kisses Victoria and lets her know that he loves her. After this, Paul loves Victoria and lives happily in her parents' house with her. Victoria forgets about her past life with the professor too, because she finds it hard to remember what happened to her. She decides to keep the baby. Paul likes it. As he said in the beginning, he likes children. He wants a simple life where he can love and live happily with his wife's children, and a dog if possible. Finally, Paul gets a life he always wanted, and he hates selling chocolates. He stopped doing that. Victoria is the love of Paul's life. He cannot lead a life without her. He understands that clearly and leaves Betty for Victoria. The film ends with a happy ending for Paul and Victoria. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. Stay safe and never forget, you are awesome.